So, Andre, you learnt to play the guitar left-handed for this film. It felt like a real labour of love. I mean, have you always been a Hendrix fan?
Well, I mean, I definitely was a Hendrix fan before doing this film, but I actually discovered Hendrix kind of like in my early 20s. I didn't know Hendrix as a child or even as a teenager. But you know, once I did get into guitar, Hendrix did come up.
And he was a real inspiration for your own musical career?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's inspired, you know, sounds and visuals. I mean, I think people have seen and heard throughout my career.
Did your experience of musical stardom really colour the way you interpreted his in the film? Was it very personal in that respect?
Yeah, I think that was the biggest connection that I had to Hendrix in that way, because I understood the trajectory of being an artist from starting, you know, from, you know, not so confident in your presentation to, you know, kind of gaining that confidence and kind of going all out with putting yourself completely into your music. So I think that was the, I guess, the kind of the meeting point that I could say.
And getting the lucky breaks.
Excuse me?
And getting the lucky breaks.
Yes, definitely. You know, that point in time where you actually have the opportunity to go out and do it is kind of fun, exciting, and scary. So in this film, we get to see the growth of Hendrix from very, very humble beginnings when he didn't necessarily even like his voice. And these are all, you know, these are all documented facts. You know, Hendrix didn't like his voice at first. And this movie is really about the people around him, you know, the two women in his life, the people that nurtured him to get him to the place that we know, the Hendrix that we know of, the superstar, the iconic Hendrix.
And if you had to put your finger on what was the real genius of Hendrix, for you, what would that be?
His feeling, I think, in my opinion. Even, you know, the greatest guitar players today that are really probably, you know, more skilled and proficient than Hendrix would say, you know, it wasn't about his perfectness, it was about his feeling. And in that way, he pretty much never played the same thing twice. It was completely how he felt. And I think with that, you know, you get so much variation, and in that variation, you get beauty, where he could pretty much go with however he felt. And I think anyone after Hendrix can say that he is that person, like that poster child that we look up to say, well, this is one individual that really got it when it came to throwing your all into the music, throwing your ideas into the music, from style to your lifestyle. Hendrix was, you know, God in that way.
And were you able to really sort of...
use that word.
Were you really able to sort of lose yourself in the character as you were playing him, or were you slightly inhibited by, you know, this pretty technical feat of having to learn the guitar left-handed? I mean, did that sort of hold you back in a way?
Well, it was a balance. You know, I'm naturally not a left-handed guitar player. I'm not a great guitar player at all. You know, I just kind of tinker around with it right-handed. So I think the most difficult parts of the role were, you know, learning to mimic. It was basically mimicking left-hand playing. Kind of like finger choreography is what I call it. But it was a balance. So when you say lose yourself, it's kind of, I have to kind of start at a technical place, because it's speaking with a different voice. Even physically, you know, I had to do certain changes to make myself as thin as Hendrix was at that time. But once I you know, kind of got that under my skin and kept doing it in repetition, it was easier for me to lose myself, but it was still always a balancing act of this technical kind of impersonation. And once you impersonate long enough, you live in it. So it was a balance in that.
What really struck me about the film was one of the characters put it really well and accused him of fooling around with white kids. And you get the sense that he's, in a way, being slightly patronised, treated as a slightly sort of exotic object. Do you feel that he should have been more radical in speaking out about race?
No, I don't think he should be anything. I think as musicians, the only thing that I think musicians should be is as honest in their presentation as possible. Whatever your game plan is, whatever you do it for, And I don't think there's no wrong reason to do music, you know, even some people that do it, you know, just for the money. I mean, that's a goal. As long as you're honest about it, you know, that's your goal. And, you know, if you have something to say politically or to the world, I mean, that's your business. I don't think the responsibility or pressure of putting it on the artist to save the world, I don't think it's our job. I mean, if anything, it should be like, you know, we make the soundtrack to saving the world, and some other people could help, and we all help together. But, you know, it's not our responsibility in that way.
But there's a scene in the film where there's a sort of casual example of police racism, where he's walking down the street with his girlfriend, his then girlfriend, and he's asked to take his, he's wearing a sort of military uniform, and he's asked to take it off. And you know, it's really a pretty shocking scene. And then you think today of the race riots in Missouri, and do you think that very much has changed in the last half century when it comes to race and the way that African Americans, for example, are dealt with by the police?
Yeah, I think it's changed a lot. There's been a lot of progression in race relations, and I see it a lot, you know, in the youth, in my son, his generation. They don't see it the same, well, most of them, but there's still, you know, there's still racism around. And I think it'll have to just grow out and die out, because a lot of times it's kind of passed down through generation. So I think, you know, unfortunately, I don't want to sound morbid about it, but those people will die out. And, you know, hopefully we'll get to an easier, more fair way of thinking about it with race and sexuality. So it just takes time, you know.
Well, the Missouri riots suggest it's taking really quite some time, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we're in America also, so it's, you know, a lot of those things are still, you know, perpetuated. But, you know, it'll take time, but it'll be like nonsense after a while. It'll be like, at one point in time, leeches were put, you know, on people for medical reasons, you know. So once that dies out, it'll be all right.
Just coming back to the music, in a way, the film really focuses on the sort of improvisation and obviously what Hendrix is famous for. It struck me that his career, in a sense, was almost as improvised as his music. You know, he had a series of lucky breaks. Do you think now that music careers are so much more pre-planned that doesn't happen so much?
I'm sorry, I don't understand your question.
So I'm just, you know, talking about the sort of programming of musicians these days. It seems so much more sort of pre-planned. Everything's sort of so carefully thought out. There's not so much chance for a star to emerge through a series of lucky breaks as Hendrix did. Do you buy that argument? No.
No. I think you know, even in those days, you still had your, you know, kind of planned out, more manufactured acts. You know, even in the '60s. And I mean, you always have that because there's a certain formula and there's an audience for people that enjoy that formula, and I think there's a place for that kind of music. But you also will have artists that, artist acts, whatever you want to call them, that just do it for different reasons. And I think it's all about why you do it. I think you have to ask yourself, why am I doing it, and go for that. But it's ironically, like Hendrix actually toured with a band like the Monkees. You know, and in the Monkees at that time, you know, they were considered, you know, one of those manufacturers type of groups. And it was just kind of funny to see Hendrix, you know, open up for the Monkees.
Well, I really can't go without mentioning your hat and your glasses, which are very striking. Do you have that sort of rapport with Hendrix? Obviously, he was so flamboyant, he had such a cool sense of style, and that's something that's very much associated with yourself as well.
Hendrix definitely had crazy style. And once again, it's the world around him. You know, I think, you know, we all start from something, and you're just turned on by different things, and you figure out, you play with things that look great on you. I mean, everything doesn't look great on everybody. You just have to kind of respect your body and know your shape, know what you're into, know what looks good on you, and make sure the clothes don't look like they're wearing you. But I've always kind of, you know, at some point in time, you know, had some kind of sense of style. Even as a child. I mean, it's gotten wilder over the years because I think, you know, my ideas have gotten wilder in ways, but
well, that's
yeah,
quite
I mean, style is important. It's like...
It's a pretty
your
wild
own
hat.
canvas, your personal canvas.
It's a pretty wild hat.
Excuse me?
Tell me about the hat. Where did the hat come from today? I mean, that's quite a wild look.
Well, 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 the cap is like, it's just a cheap kind of cap that you get from, you know, arm and surplus store. Like costs maybe like 99 cents or $1. It's not like high fashion or anything like that. It's kind of, it's a hunting cap actually. You wear it in the woods so you don't get shot.
Well, it's not very camouflaged though.
No, that's what I'm saying.
I see,
you wear it in
so you
the
don't get
woods.
shot, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you'd scare all the animals away. You'd scare
I guess so. But I wouldn't get shot, so I think I'm more concerned about not getting shot than scaring the animals away.
Okay. Andre Benjamin, thank you very, very much.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.